Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Aria family. Thanks for joining us for this first part of this three-part luxury series. So today's topic will be focused on sellers, and we're featuring three incredible agents from West Coast to the East Coast. And you see them all on the screen. We've got Janice Lee in the LA area from Berkshire Hathaway, Home Services, California Properties. Yep, wave and say hello. And we've got Jennifer Ames from Chicago with Engel and Volker. And all the way in the East Coast, we've got Kevin Brown in the New York with Sotheby's International. How are you guys all doing?
Awesome. Great.
I was going to say, don't speak up all at once now. Oh, great. I'm so excited to have you guys on here, and we're all excited to see you guys and learn a little bit more about what you guys are dealing with your sellers. So first off, I'm going to have Janice start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the business. So yeah, go ahead, Janice.
Well, I wanted to tell everybody a great news. First of all, I became grandmother second time yesterday, and so that was a big happy news in the McMahon's family. I have been in the real estate business since 1984. So that means I've been in the business for 36 years, and I've seen all the ups and downs that you could think of in real estate. I have a team, and I am based in Pasadena, Southern California. I grew up in Northern California, the San Francisco area. So I live in Texas for just a tiny part of my life, a year. And I quickly came back to California.
Okay, but I have to say, once Texas is in your blood, you're a Texan.
Don't say that, Calvin. Are you from Texas? So after, after settling in California since the 70s, I've been sitting put in Pasadena, San Marino area, and that's where my turf is. I am the luxury property director for Berkshire Hathaway, and it's a very exciting firm, and this is a very interesting time that we're in. But I'm sure that everybody remembers the '08 crisis. Everybody remembered 2014 when President Xi joined FACA, and now 2020 we have the virus that we're fighting. So everything will be fine at the end, but it's a very exciting time, and I'm dying to hear what everybody has to say.
Great. So let's go to Jennifer. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the industry.
Great. I'm a Chicago native, third generation realtor, and I've been in the business 26 years. I've been in the top 10% of the city. I'm downtown. I've been in the top 10% for the last 20 plus. And my average sale price is a little over $1 million. So in Chicago, that is the luxury space. I have a small team, but I also have a brokerage. So I brought Engel and Volkers here. I love what I do, and I'm really blessed to be here in a world-class city.
Oh yeah, you guys are busy. So Kevin, your turn. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the industry. Can't sleep on us right now.
Okay, I've been in real estate for as far as being an agent or a broker for over 30 years. We're always ranked as #1 either throughout all of Sotheby's or in New York, and so we've been very blessed being at the right time, right place, right brokerage, etc. We started with getting very involved with Asia, especially mainland China, about 7 years ago. Made lots of mistakes, tried to navigate those waters, and then finally figured out, who the gatekeepers were. Which are not, obviously in Asia, it's a different way of doing business than we traditionally do in New York or the rest of the country. But I'm sure I'm just preaching to the converted already, that everybody already knows this.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You guys are, selling for a lot of those high-end sellers and buyers. So let's talk about the sellers. How do you guys do open houses? And what are the creative ways that you guys are doing in capturing people to come into your guys' property? Since you finished off, Kevin, I'll let you start, and then we'll go to Jennifer and Janice.
I mean, we're only in phase 2 in Manhattan as compared to Long Island and other parts of New York State. They're already in phase 3 or phase 4. We're not allowed to have open houses. So our business is transitioning away from the traditional way of that you would have open houses, then you'd have first showing and second showing and third showing. Now, all of a sudden, we're doing virtual tours through Matterport and 3D tours. And so now, I'm part of a team, or my team, with Nikki Field, that what we do is that we recognize that the person that's coming to the appointment, this is really their third showing. It's not their first showing, because we can't have open houses. So people are now already using the internet in a way that was very unique in New York City. You all are far ahead, and everybody probably on this Zoom call, far ahead of New York City. We're very provincial. We like doing things the old way. And so now also we're being dragged into the 21st century. And so it's, but business, even during our lockdown, I did 5 deals during the lockdown where we weren't allowed to do anything. We were considered as essential. No, we were first considered non-essential for 24 hours. Then we were considered as essential, but then we're told, oh, by the way, even though you're essential, you can't go into the any apartments. You can't meet with anybody. You can't do anything. So the fact that I was able to do 5 transactions, but I want to point out 4 of them were from Asia. Besides the Asians just being smarter, without a doubt, the Asians are just more sophisticated about these ups and downs. We Americans, we're like kids, we react very oddly. But the Asians, so 4 of my deals, and they were all multi-million-dollar deals. 4 of them were in new development with Asians. I should say mainland Chinese, which is a distinction. So there we have it.
That's so exciting. No, thank you, Kevin. That's really great insight. How about you, Jennifer? How's your business with open houses coming along?
Thank you for asking. So we're in phase 4 now. We were not able to do open houses until recently. And we started doing open houses in our company about 3 weeks ago as things started to open up. The Chicago market is not like the TV shows where you have an open house and hundreds of people come and you have over full price offers. For us, if we have an open house in 2 hours, we might get 3-4 people. So we're very comfortable having them, even with COVID. Of course, everyone wears a mask. Everyone wears gloves, and we have shoe booties in some of our listings. So the request when people come in is please don't touch things. We're there to open and close doors and help with that. But we found we've actually had some really good activity. It's a little bit like restaurants. People have been cooped up at home. They haven't been able to go out. Now they can go to restaurants, and now they can also go look at real estate. So our market has really picked up. Our showings right now are higher than they were at this time last year, but that's partly because of the pent-up demand. And the open houses are a nice way to make it possible. However, we're still doing a lot in video, and that's really something that we embraced, like Kevin said, as a part of COVID. So we did a little bit before, but we really took it up to a new level, and we're doing a lot more high quality video with drone shots and come over the lake and down around the building and that kind of thing. So we're making that really sexy. And that's because as a result of COVID, more people are online. So you want, for your SEO, you want that. And in Zillow, you can put your video as your first picture. So you really want to be up there. Way more people will see your listing. It just gives you a competitive advantage, and it helps because you can show it virtually.
Oh, may I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
This is free flow. So in New York City, because 75% of for instance, our market are co-ops, and then the rest being condominiums and a few townhouses. The co-ops, that even though the city will allow showings, co-ops are restricting it, showings. And same thing with condominiums. Are you finding the same hurdle?
No, and I sell a lot of co-ops in Chicago. I did a video in a co-op the other day. There really isn't any building left now in the city that's not allowing access. So during COVID, during the main part of the quarantine, even though we are considered an essential business in Chicago and we were never told we couldn't sell, there were certain buildings where they said, no family members, no guests, no dog walkers, no delivery people. It was literally restricted to only the residents of the building. And so during, the phase 1 and phase 2, there were several buildings that we couldn't get into. And during that time we were restricted. Now we're in every building. Nobody said no.
Wow.
Are you guys having any issues with like the common areas, like the gym and things like that? I've seen that in a lot of our showings that we can't really go in there. So I don't know if you guys are having that issue.
They're not open.
Oh, so in Chicago,
they're not open.
They're limited. So I was photographing a high-rise building amenities the other day after shooting the condo itself. And the pool is like, it's open, but it's no more than 6 people. So there's a lot of signage, there's a lot of rules. Some of the buildings you actually have to reserve the gym with the doorman ahead of time. So they're ensuring that it's low numbers. But there are, we are open. Some of the buildings did opt to not open their pools this summer, but most of them have now opened and the common area amenities are available.
Well, Jennifer, you must be working out because you look great.
No. They all talk about the COVID-15, and I think we're all suffering a little bit of that. We finally took our pajamas off and had to put regular clothes back on.
Right.
Okay, well, let's hear from Janice and see what you guys are doing down there in California, in that portion of town.
Yes, in Southern California. And we became essential very quickly after the lockdown, March 15. However, we are not allowed to have open houses, period. So no open houses. And in California, we are actually pretty advanced with the virtual tour, with all sorts of tour, with the 3Ds and all that. And a lot of the agents are being very creative. Being in Hollywood, a lot of them are doing actually like a reality show. So the agent will go and then pretend that they are the star, and then they will show the houses themselves. My average price is $2 million in San Marino, Pasadena. The entry-level homes in this area, it's about 1.5. And any good homes that is listed in the very decent area, very well prepared, very well staged, we are experiencing 20 to 30 offers. So it's multiple offers again. And I love what one of our colleagues in Beverly Hills said. This is not a time that we could have a big party to invite people to come for a gala, to have a sushi lunch and stuff like that. So we're back to the essentials. We're back to the basics. Is the details of what your property is going to look like online. And like Kevin said, by the time that they make that appointment with you, they have seen the house 100 times already online. They really like the house. That's why they're coming to see it in person. And I personally actually welcome that, because you don't have any looky-loos anymore. People who come to look at your homes, they're serious. And of course, we have a whole bunch of paperwork that we need them to sign.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they need to show their financial strength before we will even allow them to come into the house. So in a way, we're doing it differently. Of course, we're not going to have somebody walk in the house and fall in love with the house and buy it, but we have very serious buyer when we actually show the properties.
Yeah, Jay, if I can ask, are you, either of you, finding that there's a COVID discount? I know everybody anticipates that they're going to get this big discount, but I mean, we're not finding it. We're finding maybe 5% off.
No, actually, Kevin, like I said, with the multiple offers, there's no discount. I think back in April, everybody saw that, oh, there's a COVID discount, but some of the sellers say, no, I'm not going to do it. And then more and more people are cooped up, like Jennifer said. So all of a sudden, people realize that home is not just a place for you to sleep. Home is going to be a place for you to work. Home is going to be a place that you're going to spend 80% of your day in now. So the demand for the home plus the low interest rate, it's that really is the main reason why the entry level good homes. When I say entry level, I feel bad because I'm talking about $1 to $1.5 million. The entry level homes are just selling like hotcakes. And we have to remember, every time we have a property with 25 offers, well, there are 24 good, solid buyers out there. And we don't have 24 new listings coming up every day. And therefore, that's going to last for.
So,
but don't you
I guess
find...
my question is, oh, sorry. I was going to say something about, because condos, I think I see more of a discount than single family homes. I don't know if you guys are noticing a little difference in pricing there. Maybe Kevin, because you're in the condo market.
Yeah, I mean, in condos, in new development, I mean, everybody wants a short answer for everything, but being a New Yorker, there's no such thing as a short answer. But so you break it down and you say, okay, co-ops, there's already a foundation. They're not going to go on a floor. In condominiums, because everybody has money in New York, you're going to get maybe 5% off. New development, they're going to be in trouble. That's where I think we're going to see great discounting, and everybody's going to be talking about that. And then the New York Times will say that they're 30% off, but they're really only talking about a small part of the market. What I'd love to ask the other panelists saying, how has luxury been redefined? Because I know it's been redefined in New York City because of COVID. The sellers are always sellers. They've remained the same. Buyers are actually shifting, but it's also they're shifting because luxury, the definition of what we consider luxury, is different now than it was 6 months ago.
What we're
good question.
We're finding that buyers today want different things. Their values have changed. So before COVID, we were a market that was largely downsizing. Our property taxes have gone up. People are shrinking their footprint, want a smaller space, some transitioning into rental. We have some fabulous rental buildings in Chicago where they're really small apartments with huge common area amenities. And boy, did that backfire during COVID, because they found themselves locked in their little teeny apartments and couldn't use any of those amenities. So right now, the new luxury in our market is space. And it's not just living space, it's also green space. So we're seeing suburbs, like Lake Forest is almost an hour from downtown. And until recently, you couldn't give those homes away if you wanted to. But now that people have learned that they can work from home, suddenly they're leaving and they're going to the suburbs and they're fine. So there's a lot of people who say, I want my own private green space. I don't want to ride an elevator. I don't want communal amenities. So luxury is privacy, it's green space, it's having enough room that two people can go and be on a Zoom call in a different place and not overlap with each other, that if college kids need to come home because they're doing virtual school, they still have a bedroom. Our new construction market is still strong because people don't want to do work. But I would say the main change when you look at all of this is that before COVID, people were making practical choices and often with economic considerations. Now they're making emotional choices based on lifestyle and how they're re-envisioning their life going forward.
To be stuck in one
Janice?
place, yeah. Janice, yeah, answer that. That's a great question. What's coming up?
I have not been handling a lot of condo sales. In my area, it's really basically all single family residents. And I want to touch a little bit about our luxury properties. So 1.5 is our entry level. And when we're talking about luxury property 3 and up, that is going a little bit slower. And I think everybody agree that the game is supply and demand. We don't have a lot of supplies on the market. The properties that has been sitting on the market were not priced right. And so the buyers are very, very smart out there. We don't have a lot of money from China right now because it's very difficult to get the money out, number one. And I'm sure that you all agree that foreign money is very, very closely tied with political situation. And therefore right now it's just a very, very tight, very, what's the right political word that I wanted to use?
Yeah, you have to be careful, really.
So I just feel like, you know, the political scene really affects the Pacific Rims. Back in 2008, when the country are experiencing 50%, 60% discount, the most that we experience is probably 15%. Say you bought at the highest time, you were a sucker and you need to sell at that time, we're talking about 15%. So that's nothing compared to the rest of the world. And right now we don't see a lot of China money coming in, but we do see a lot of people moving within the communities, selling their smaller home, buying a bigger home. Like Jennifer was saying, they want more space. Maybe a 3-bedroom home is not enough now. They want a 5-bedroom home because all their college kids are back. And we are very blessed. In Southern California, there's just a lot of land here. So the average lot size for the entry-level home is 10,000 square feet. So that's a luxury.
Okay.
And yeah.
You know, I mean, you brought up an interesting point, and I think Aria and as well as, you know, Sotheby's being international, you know, I'm watching to see the international marketplace. You know, I keep one eye on the local marketplace, but then also what's happening in mainland China and Hong Kong, you know, like, you know, are they now going to be, you know, getting out of town as quickly as possible, or Taiwan being nervous, or, but again, Brazil and Colombia. And it's very interesting because you watch governments, you know, people, the very wealthy that we deal with, they're going to all of a sudden be wanting to be in Chicago or be in LA or be in New York City and have a foothold here. You know, and it's just going to, I think we're going to see, you know, a lot of movement of the very wealthy. The flip side of that is our government can completely screw it up, you know, by all of a sudden saying, oh, let's go tax the rich now. And then that will make the rich say, why come to America? You know, I can go to Portugal and be happy. But I'm watching the international marketplace very, very carefully. I'm watching currencies very carefully. And I'm trying to get ahead of the curve, saying, where are people coming from? You know, and you know, whether it be like, you know, I mean, you all are fortunate, you're realtors, we're not. So everything, you know, you can track a lot more than we can track. It's against the law for me to ask where somebody's from. It's against the law for me to ask what business you're in. There's all sorts of things I can't do. And
that's
so,
New York? That's a New York thing?
Yeah, it's a New York City. God bless them.
That's interesting.
And so
Wow.
no, but so I asked what you're doing 9 to 5. I didn't ask anything about employment. But if I were in your markets, I would be looking and saying, okay, where are all the hits coming from on your websites? Where are, is the city, the tourists, whatever, the Chamber of Commerce, I guess, where are they getting their, hits from? Because that's the first indication that there's a movement, when people are interested.
Well, thank you for those insights.
Sorry.
That's actually really good, Kevin. No, I know. No, that's okay. It's okay.
I know.
Well, I mean, I do have, so we're talking about international market. I mean, what are the new challenges that you've seen in marketing properties internationally? I mean, what new opportunities are you seeing in the marketing properties internationally, or are you guys?
I think that we're getting away from print. That's number one. So as far as just companies, but I mean, if you look on, God, I sound like Hillary Clinton. Go to kevin.brown@sir.com. And you can contribute today. Send your $5. But all of a sudden, for instance, I'm having everything translated, and I have been doing it for 10 years. I always have all my calendars translated into simplified Chinese. And then I also, then have another, calendar translated into traditional Chinese, and so I'm constantly trying to make the reader feel comfortable, and so if I'm doing a video tour, I just had one translated. It was $20 million property, and Craig George, my partner, he was walking through and talking, and I thought, this is really good. Let's have it translated on the bottom, And even though somebody can speak English, there's nuances to the language, and no matter how good you are, I mean, I can say if you mama hoo hoo, that's about it.
Pretty good though. It's pretty good.
I know, Zach, Jennifer, I'll translate for Jennifer. That means whatever.
Here's a question I had. I know that we're not trying to get into politics, but I don't think people can come. Like, I think we've got a different issue. I've got, exchange students that can't come to school and college students that can't stay. And we've got all kinds of immigration challenges.
That's right.
So I think we've got a real, until we get to the election, again, I'm not going to talk politics other than to say that no, we can't, but we're in a holding pattern, until November, because right now the borders are closed. And so, I mean, what are we going to do? The best I can do for my sellers, because we're really here talking about listings, is my goal is to put my properties out in the best possible light to the broadest audience I can. But at the moment, I'm not actively trying to find somebody who might not even be able to come and buy. So one thing I wanted to share on a marketing standpoint is that because we were talking a little bit a minute ago about what matters, has luxury changed? One of the things we've been doing, and I usually have about 50 listings at a time, is we've been redoing all our marketing to change our vocabulary to focus on the things that matter today. So if I have a property and I say, fabulous dining room, perfect for huge dinner parties, well, nobody's having huge dinner parties. So it would seem kind of, disingenuous. So one of the things that we've been doing now, without really knowing where our buyers specifically are going to come from, is thinking about what's important to our buyers today and how do we present our home in the light of what people care about with COVID: privacy, security, safety. I saw there was a question in the Q&A about social distancing, and is that affecting, people's choice of a home? Certainly in our market, where you've got a choice between condos, high rises with elevators, low rises, houses, yes, we're seeing a trend away from, crowded crowds of people and lack of privacy. So really, as a seller's agent, I'm right now trying to figure out how to present things in a way that matters, that resonates with our buyers.
No, that's a good point. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's what a smart broker does. They're constantly pivoting.
I'll take
No,
it.
yeah, exactly. But you're pivoting. You're listening, and you had pointed that out the other day to me, and I thought that's really smart.
Yeah.
So you have your first picture. You have outdoor space. In New York City, we never counted outdoor space in valuing a property. Now all of a sudden,
Wow.
it was just kind of like, okay, it's like having a washer dryer. You know, like you say, okay, that's nice. It's nice amenity.
Right.
But now all of a sudden, outdoor space, and so literally when you're trying to do it price per square foot, you kind of highlight saying you're also getting 1,000 square foot terrace.
We have to. But it's private outdoor space that matters.
Yeah, private.
Right.
Private.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean the old saying, like sell the sizzle, not the steak.
Right.
You know, and so we're starting to understand the sizzle has changed.
And I'm kind of between you guys, like Janice, you're mostly houses on these big lots, and Kevin, you guys live in apartments the size of my dorm room in college in New York, right?
I don't.
we're in the middle, right? So our focus in thinking about how to market, especially when there's outdoor space right now, is to actually push that to the front of the photos in the MLS. So we'll, like Janice, if you've got this fabulous yard, you might show your front and then go into the outdoor space first and then go inside the home, if that's what you think your buyers are really going to care about. For us, that's definitely become like the premium. And maybe, you know, Chicago, we don't have great weather year round like you do in California. So right now, what we're finding is I would describe the buyers that are looking at homes today as euphoric. They're finally getting out of their house. The weather's finally getting nice. Like everything is on an upswing. And our market is on an upswing because of that. And we're riding that wave because in the fall, when it starts to get colder outside, when we get closer to the election, we're going to see a much more challenging time. So right now it's make hay and really showcase that outdoor space.
Okay, but you just brought up the election again, so it's obviously on your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
So in California and in Chicago, I think it's different. New York City, and I would tell my owners for the last year, if you don't sell by January of last year, just take it off the market, because New Yorkers, every national election, it gets dead. You know, and we just get like tied up in it. We take it personally, and now all of a sudden we have a like triple whammy.
Here's how I explain it. We're in the consumer confidence business.
Correct.
Right? You don't feel good writing a $3 million check when you're uneasy. So you don't want to go make a big purchase when you're nervous. And
there are just so many uncertainties.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so everybody should, be prepared. So in New York City, for instance, we were expecting, because the inventory, normally there's a spring inventory bump. It didn't happen because of COVID. And so when all of a sudden phase 2 happened and we could start listing again, all of a sudden we're 40% down from last year in our inventory. Our rental market has just skyrocketed in terms of inventory, and everything that I have, I mean, I deal in the high end, but everything, 19 million. So now it's going for $19,000 a month. Now it's going for $18,000 a month. Everything is renting. People, I think Janet's just mentioned also that, people don't want to commit during moments of uncertainty. And so, our rental market though is, hopping. There are, we thought that there was going to be a lot more opportunists out there, and it hasn't happened, but what's valuable.
I was going to ask you the advantage. Oh, sorry. I was going to ask you the percentage, like if you've actually shown an increase and yours actually has been a decrease, 40% of listings.
In inventory and then in terms of our sales, we're probably, we were down like 90% and now we're down, 60%. We are in effect suffering. But good brokers will adjust their business plans accordingly. and become, good learners, and learn from, again, Aria. God, I sound like you paid me to keep mentioning Aria, but
I think the word that Jenny was saying is perfectly describing this whole situation, is that we need to know how to pivot. And we need to smell the problem before the problem becomes a big one. And we need to know where the trend is. So I think to be a luxury global agent, we need to be well read. We need to really know, unfortunately, the politics in every country with the United States, because that's really, really a key in the Pacific Rim area. And like I said, because China are not allowing the money to flow out so easily, and like Jenny said, everybody has to go through the quarantine. So if they're not going to have 3 months to spend in the United States, they're going to spend 2 weeks quarantine time. They're not going to be very productive. And so we are seeing tons and tons of local buyers, which is wonderful for me. In 36 years, I went through the period that, two wonderful professionals, they can buy a home because they're not able to compete with all the foreign cash buyers. And before China joined FATCA, people are buying from China crazily. And are they really loving the house that you're selling? No, they're buying so that they can get their money out.
Right, but what do you think? And it's very interesting for me because I do so much business in mainland China. I've been watching Hong Kong and seeing if there's been any activity coming in the last 2 weeks, any inquiries or anything else. I think that the wealthy have already gotten out what they wanted to get out.
They got out a long time ago. Yes.
Right. And so I don't see a great movement, because of that yet. The wealthy they like governments that take control of businesses. They don't like upheavals and street protests and everything else. But it's organizations such as this that are so valuable for the brokers just to learn.
Yep. Well, we've got a couple questions. One of them says, do you see a price adjustment on the luxury properties? I mean, you guys kind of mentioned a little bit. What is the increase or drop in your own area? Maybe Jennifer, Janice, Kevin kind of mentioned a little bit about that.
I'll jump in. We have a unique situation in Illinois in that we forgot to fund our pension funds for about 20 years.
You forgot. Okay.
Yeah, it was just one of those things, our state leaders just didn't quite make that on their agenda. And so it's really come back to catch up in a pretty uncomfortable way. So we've seen state income tax increases and property tax increases, which are significant and driving people out of Illinois. So for all of you who are on the call from Florida and South Carolina and all the states that are having Illinoisians, I'm here if you need help with referrals, but they're leaving to go there. What we've found recently is that buyers who have to stay are no longer hung up on those. Like we got a reprieve. COVID was actually good for us, for property, for sales prices, because people are no longer focused on that, and they're much more focused on, I need a bigger kitchen, I need an office, I need a room for my kids to be home. So it's the emotional stuff. So for us, values have actually been holding strong. However, there are still not a lot of high-end transactions, but high-end buyers are out looking right now because they can afford to be, and if they need to be here, they're going to buy for lifestyle. They're not going to worry about the money. That sounds odd, but that's actually a benefit. I'm afraid later it's going to catch up with us, but right now that's not a problem.
And your people who are moving out of your area, where are they moving to?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because, you know, if you ask anybody from Florida, any brokers, they're going to say, oh, everybody's coming to Florida, but the numbers don't, you know, really.
No, it's
like,
really interesting. We've got a lot of people are just hopping the border. You know, they're going to Michigan or Indiana or Wisconsin, just literally hopping the border. A lot of people who already had summer residences in those states are making that their permanent residence. But there are people going to from within my own sphere, a lot to Colorado, again, like the Carolinas, Florida, the Arizona, some to California, although tax-wise, I'm not sure it's a better situation, you know.
It's
Right.
not.
Yeah, but
We have,
yeah, go ahead.
we have a lot of people moving to Las Vegas because of tax issue.
Yeah.
And then we
Really?
have a lot of companies moving to Texas, again, because of tax benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think I see a lot of people doing that too, to Vegas and Texas. I mean, I've been doing some referrals, so I think they're heading out to the south. It's got more land and it's bigger. You can definitely, gosh, do your SIP in place. So got a couple more questions out there.
Okay, I want to give a plug for New York. Never, never, never bet against New York City. You'll lose. We've been through it. We've done it. We've had good politicians.
You've seen everything, Kevin.
Exactly. So.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead,
Oh yeah.
Lisa.
So, okay. So I've got one that says, what are the best resources or groups I can join to get into the luxury Asian market? He's currently trying Juway. I don't know if you guys have your own like little, just if it's network or if it's referrals and that's what you guys work on.
Berkshire Hathaway also deal with GUI.
We are too. Engel and Volkers is on July.
Yeah.
Is
But I
that,
gotta
is that a chewing gum? I don't even know what it is. No,
Okay, that's not a good thing.
I do, but I mean, it's just that, you know, Sotheby's, obviously we have our, like my business, about 64% comes from referrals. So, and it's just not from Sotheby's. So I reach out to all the other, you know, like firms, because, you know, you're always looking for the right person. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, that, you know, in Chicago that, you know, we have a great office there, but I'm in love with Jennifer right now. So it's,
yeah,
you know, and
it's right. Yeah. The GY is really, you know, it's a porter that is there, but it's the reputation. It's the guanxi in Chinese that matters the most. So, you know, I do feel like, yes, it's okay to join GY. It's okay to get referrals from GY, but it's really what you do, and every single transaction that you do becomes part of you, becomes your reputation. So you build your reputation. You don't just say, I'm good. Well, show me that you're good. So I think, yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's very important that we don't just think that, okay, if we join GY, all these costs is going to flood in. No, it doesn't happen that way.
No, never does. But, you know, like it's my number one Chinese customer who actually was born in Toronto. So does that make him Canadian? I don't know. But he's a whole 26 years old now, and extraordinarily sophisticated, wealthy, you know, hardworking, all the other things. He came to me because I was giving a talk at Columbia University, their MBA program for the Asian American Alliance, something. And one of the people in the audience, and you just have to realize every, like I'll talk mainland Chinese, every mainland Chinese student who's in, you know, whether it's in LA or Chicago or New York or anywhere else, they know people.
Oh yeah.
And that's who you're after. So get in front of those groups, those kiddies, and I guarantee, you know, like that they'll all have a blank expression on their face, but one of them is going to come up to you and saying, my uncle, you know, and Janice, I'm going to make a generalization about, well, there's two things about my working with mainland Chinese. One is one of their biggest problems is they don't know when to quit negotiating.
Oh, no. They start negotiating after they get in escrow, okay?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, is that they just keep on you know, negotiating. But the other thing is that they're very private. So they will not, you know,
Right.
like I've been invited to a zillion of these trade shows that they have in Shanghai and everywhere else. Or I'll take a group of billionaires that are all vetted and everything else into new developments. And I did it for 5 years, 0 business ever came out of that. And I asked one of the sales directors saying, am I doing something wrong? And he said, no, they never ever will buy in front of another colleague. They have to have privacy. And so therefore, you know, with those 2 things in mind, I'm just conscious of, you know, what is my goal when I'm speaking with a group of students? You know, what if, you know, nobody's going to raise their hand and saying, oh, Kevin, you know, like you're, you know, so humorous, I'm going to buy an apartment through you. Oh, and then the third thing about mainland Chinese is that every question that they ask me, they already know the answer. I'm only there for verification.
They're testing you.
Yeah, I'm only there. That's it. So just be aware that they already know the answer, and it's all about verification for mainland Chinese. You know, and
Yep.
so how's that for generalizations? God, I just painted a whole.
That's great. Oh my God. Well, we got some more questions here. Yeah.
Can we talk
We've got
about
another.
Yeah, the one about how to get in the luxury market?
Yeah, definitely. I was going through these lists. The lists are kind of long, but why don't
Very
we,
well.
Well, there's one. Yeah. and the other one, yeah, there's just so many questions in here. I'm just like, ooh, well, there's one that says luxury property owners, in particular global luxury owners, often own more than one property.
Correct.
Some are able to keep them vacant, and some, you know, use them and others they rent. So do you find that the perspective on owning rental property changed and might be ready to sell? So basically, you know, the people that have multiple properties, or you think they're going to looking to sell, or they may be, or they're just going to keep it and just.
Well, but you know, another question, you know, like question on the question is saying that every one of, let's say, our buyers or sellers, they have multiple homes. So we don't call ourselves real estate agents or real estate brokers. We're real estate portfolio managers. Ask every single person that comes to you saying, oh, you have other homes. Well, I'm not interested in selling them. Let me keep an eye on it for you. I have the best person in Chicago, and they're going to keep an eye. And that's how you become almost, think of yourself as an investment banker, not investment, a private banker rather. We are private bankers for our high net worth customers and clients. That's how you have to look at yourself. You know, we're in the service business. Everybody says we're in the service business, but you know, you look at most agents, they don't act like it. They look like they're in the, you know, I've got to make a sale business. So anyway, go ahead. That didn't answer the question, but yeah, I kind of answered it.
Okay. What's the other one? Parents. Oh, okay. You just typed the answer, Jennifer. I was reading your answer to some of that question that somebody answered. So I guess a lot of one of the other things I have is, do you find when you're selling when you're marketing your properties, are you getting a lot of buyers that are from outside when you're marketing? I mean, when you're listing your properties, or your sellers looking for people that are going to be from outside of the country typically, or they're going to just be local, you think?
You know, I could answer that question. In California, especially in Southern California, when the China money was flooding in, many of the sellers thought that, oh my goodness, we're going to have tons of people with a suitcase of all cash to buy. And for a few years, that was the truth. But back I have a statistic here. In 2018, in Los Angeles County, the buyers, 60.77% of the buyers are actually from the same county. Only 2.7% were international. And then in Orange County, 60% were from the same county. So actually, more than 50% are from the same county. The foreign buyers are there, but also it's kind of hard for you to define what is an international buyer. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients who was born in the States. They were educated in London. They went back to China and they became, you know, CEO and whatever in their companies, many companies that they have created. So they know Los Angeles very well. They were born here. They come here probably every single year for vacation. So are they really foreign buyers? No, they are not. They really are very well educated about your market. And like Kevin said, they already have all the answers, more than your answers that you can think of when they ask you a question. So I do feel like the international buyers are people who can afford, let me switch to not buyer, but sellers. The sellers who are international, they could afford to keep the property, but they're always available to sell the properties too, because they don't live there.
Right.
And so if I need to find a property that's not on the market, I actually will go to those buyers that I had years ago, because I know those properties, and I know those properties are probably sitting empty or just being a vacation home for them. And I could go and ask them to see if the price is right, they will sell. That is my source of getting listings that's not on the market and that I know it's going to be a good fit.
So Janice, do you on your bio, do you have it already translated into simplified Chinese or traditional Chinese?
No, I don't. I am
And
trilingual, and
I tell you,
I don't do that because it's very interesting. I'm actually targeting for the international, the well-educated. There's many different wealthy Chinese.
right, but it's the when you're pitching an exclusive. I have on my card, and it's I'll like against Sotheby's rules. I have a simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese, and but when I go to pitch an exclusive, the that New Yorker says, "Oh, you must be Mr. China. Why else would you have it all translated?" It speaks volumes when like, and I encourage everybody to, and it's surprising. Most people don't know what their as an employer, I sit there and I ask people what their strengths are, and they always like come up with some, like I can do 16 different computer programs. And then I sit there and going, but you speak 5 languages. That's your strength.
Right.
And I'm jealous. I wish I could speak more than English or
So
New York
Kevin,
English.
I think for you, it's very important and it's very impressive. When I saw your site, I said, oh my God, he probably speaks Chinese better than I do. So I think that's
Mama hoo-hoo.
that I think that's all my husband can say too, Mama hoo-hoo. Anyways, I do feel like for non-Chinese, it's very beneficial for you to do that. It's a friendly act.
It's a sign of respect.
Like me, who has a Chinese face and who has a Chinese last name, it's not necessarily better for me to have that. Because when I have that, they probably think that I'm not Americanized enough. So
that's interesting.
Reverse.
That's very interesting.
It's a reverse.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, you were going to refer to a question. I got cut off, and then could you bring that question back up? I was trying to look through it. So many in here.
There's a lot of great comments, and I'm sorry when I'm like getting distracted looking at them, but they're awesome.
I know, that's why.
I thought, Jennifer, I thought you were trying to do another deal. I thought that's what you were doing.
One of the questions was how to get into luxury. And I love that question because when I got into the business at the beginning, it was a very strategic decision for me. And I love to share how to think about that. So we all know knowledge is power. And when you're a brand new broker, if you try to learn the whole market and work every different sector, not specialized, then you're gonna not be really good at anything because you're just gonna be chasing your tail. So when I got my license, which is frightening, it was 1994, I made a decision that I was gonna know all transactions over $500,000, which at the time was a lot of money, in 3 neighborhoods. And on our broker tour day, I would go see 20, 25 properties. I learned the buildings, I learned the architects, I learned the nuances of those neighborhoods. And when I got my first $1 million buyer, I could walk the walk and talk the talk. And I was like, oh, well, there was another one in the building. It wasn't very nice. And I was this and I was that. And nobody ever questioned my ability to sell in that sector because I knew it. And I think the internet makes people a little bit lazy sometimes because they think they know and they don't really do their homework. And so I think there's no substitute when we can do it to get back in and really know those properties. And don't try and cover a huge radius of geography or every different type of property. And if you want to be a luxury broker, then set your searches, learn those, see those, study those properties. Who are the designers? What do they look like? What are the finishes? What are the colors? How, know your numbers. How close are they selling list to sale? What's the average days on market? So when you're in a cocktail party conversation, or you're talking to a potential seller, you can talk about it like you've been doing it for 100 years. And because you know your stuff. And that's my biggest issue, whether it's luxury or whatever you want to do, new construction, you want to really, really focus. And when you focus, you'll own it.
Yeah, I mean, you said the magic word, specialize. You become a specialist. And, even within our team, Nikki and I have, one person, I'm the new development specialist. Who made it? Well, I made it myself. Everybody and so you don't have to be there for that specialist forever. I started off in luxury townhouses. And so, if once you become a specialist, and you could be a specialist in an age group even. It doesn't have to be property. I could be the specialist, working with doctors. Become a specialist, sell yourself. And so within our team, we have a specialist in almost every single area. We have an Asia desk. We have a Russian desk. We have a millennial desk. And we give everybody, everybody has a title.
I agree with you guys totally. I think just creating the niche for ourselves is important, and nothing will replace hard work, like Jenny said. You just have to know your neighborhood, and I'm known as Miss, San Marino Queen, and I sold some of the houses 4 times.
Well, I'm the New York Queen.
And so, oh well.
Oh, well.
It is just important that you're not greedy. You cannot know everywhere.
Yeah.
You cannot. I'm a big believer in finding a good partner and refer clients out rather than going, because my name is not gonna travel that far to Chicago. So it is very, very important that you and I really feel like referral is part of you. So I don't refer things out easily or not with thoughts. But when I refer something, that person is an extension of me. My client trusts me, and that trust extends to that person that I refer to. So I think it's very important that you know your neighborhood. And like Jenny said, you cannot just wing it. A lot of young people who come into this, this career think that if you drive a nice car and this and that, it's going to work. No, you have to have your knowledge here.
Right.
And roll up your sleeves, like really be a student of it.
Right.
I find, and it's a generational challenge, that we have people who come in and they're like, well, I want to sell, but I want a puppy, and I'm going to teach yoga, and I'm going to do this and this and this. Like, like either if you want to be successful, jump in with 2 feet and really just learn your stuff as quick as you can. Sometimes people want to join my team part-time, after their other job. And it's like, there's no way that you should be giving people advice about what is often their biggest asset.
Correct.
Part-time. I mean, it's bad for the industry.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, you guys got so much, yeah, you guys got so much great insight. We're so grateful. We need to wrap up. There's so much more questions I've got that I would love to ask. Yes, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, that's why it gets me all caught up reading these questions and listening to you. I am trying to multitask in my ears and listening and reading at the same time. Just like Jennifer, I think you were kind of a little distracted, but I really want to. No, I really want to thank each and every one of you for taking your time and being on this panel. I think a lot of the people that tuned in learned a lot. And, you know, guys, you know how to reach out to them. They're in ARIA. If you want to get a hold of them, let us know. We'll connect you guys, because obviously these are great luxury agents that you guys can connect and refer your business to. Also want to say thank you to my luxury ambassadors that help promote this luxury session. And we've got next week, we've got Dylan, who's going to be moderating, and it's going to be focused on buyers. So stay tuned, same time, same place. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you
for joining. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.